I absolutely love the sport of boxing, but sometimes I hate the game. Hello and welcome to Fit to Box channel. I'm Coach Simon, and here on Fit to Box channel I bring you all things boxing equipment. Today I'm going to run through what we witnessed at the weekend between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, which was supposed to almost be like an exhibition fight where Tyson Fury exhibited his skills against an MMA fighter who wasn't really supposed to cause any problems for him. And I want to just talk through what happened in that fight. But as you can see from the thumbnail, in there I have said about that elbow. And let me address that first of all. So I am the guy that did the video about Tyson Fury and the gloves, when there was loads and loads of different YouTubers and people saying during the Wilder fights that he had his fist in the wrist. I was the guy that sort of picked that apart and said, well, you know, it's impossible for him to have his fist in the wrist when he could open and close the glove. And I sort of did a video on that. It got massive views for me, but also obviously it caused quite a furore because I was probably the only one that was sort of disputing these things that people were saying. So given that, people may think that I'm a massive Tyson Fury fan and that I would defend Tyson Fury in whatever he does, and that is simply not true. For me, seeing at the weekend, and I didn't see it during the fight actually, it was only after, where this footage emerged of Tyson Fury throwing a elbow, hitting Francis Ngannou in the head. And you know what? Totally wrong. He was feeling that he was losing, and he was looking to cheat to either sort of damage Ngannou or to cut his eye or to, you know, just gain an advantage. That's not boxing, and I can't condone that. And for me, Tyson Fury tried to cheat and it didn't come off, and I'm glad it didn't come off because Ngannou didn't even blink an eye. He just took it and he just carried on forward. And I think for Tyson Fury to stoop in that level, in that manner, I think is really bad. And I'm glad that Ngannou actually just didn't bother him. And really, Tyson Fury went down in my estimation for trying that, because if anything, people was expecting the MMA guy to do something like that, not the boxer. So he let himself down and he let the sport down as well. So as far as I'm concerned, Tyson Fury tried to cheat, and thankfully it didn't work. Okay, so let's talk about the fight, the expectation before the fight. So really, most people thought that it was a bit of a mismatch. Most people thought that Tyson Fury was just going to use it as a bit of an exhibition, and that Francis Ngannou wasn't going to be able to do anything really. I myself thought that Tyson Fury would almost carry Ngannou till say round 8 or 9 and then stop him. I thought he was just be too big, too good, and just too seasoned as a boxer for this guy that hadn't even had a professional boxing bout. So from my point of view, it was going to be a bit of a procession, and very similar to Mayweather versus McGregor, how Mayweather sort of handled McGregor and just waited for him to gas out before taking him apart. That's how I thought it was going to go, and that's how a lot of people thought it was going to go. There was a lot of people being very vocal about the fact that they didn't even think that this fight should happen. Now, it was kind of billed as an exhibition, but it has gone onto the records and it was under the proper rules. So although the actual WBC belt of Tyson Fury wasn't sort of up for grabs, it still counts as a professional bout for Ngannou and a professional bout for Tyson Fury. So from my point of view, it was a proper bout over 10 rounds between two licensed professionals, albeit one in his first fight and the other being the lineal boxing heavyweight champion, and basically regarded as one of the best heavyweights of all time. Okay, so let's just run through the gloves, being as that my channel is a boxing equipment review channel. Tyson Fury went with a red pair of Pathan Sports gloves, and Leone was the brand that was chosen and worn by Francis Ngannou. And luckily, on this occasion, there was no gloves controversy in this fight, although I'm sure there's probably lots and lots of channels out there that are searching frame by frame for a ripple of a glove or a frame that looks like there's no padding in Fury's gloves, or even somebody searching to see if there's an egg weight in the gloves as well, which obviously was nonsense. So, from the gloves point of view, Path and Sports Fury, Leone for Ngannou. So what actually happened? Well, what actually happened was this: Ngannou was way better than anybody thought he was going to be at boxing. He was obviously very, very well prepared. The way he'd done his training, I know that he got Mike Tyson in there, but also his other trainer, Dewey, he obviously had given him a game plan, and they had been working towards that game plan, and that game plan was superb. I think that what they set out to do, they achieved. Many people thought that perhaps he would just start throwing loads of punches and just get caught out. He didn't. He was very patient, and he was patient throughout the whole of the fight. Conversely, I think that Tyson Fury, although he said he'd had a 12-week camp, I don't think that he took the fight as seriously as he should have done. I think he very much thought it was going to be a walk in the park, and then when he was in there, I think he realised that he was in with a game boxer. And the bottom line is that Ngannou is a true athlete and a very strong and very powerful guy, and I think Fury misjudged it. I don't think he did the training that he should have done. I don't think he took Ngannou seriously, and I think he overlooked him. And then Ngannou in the ring was able to show things that Fury just didn't think he could do. So let's have a look at the size. Obviously you've got 6'9" Tyson Fury, and you've got 6'4" Ngannou. I have to say, looking at all of the sort of the footage, it never looked like that was the difference in height. They looked very similar in size. When it comes to the actual sort of physicality, obviously Ngannou is a beast of a man. Muscles on muscles, and Tyson Fury, as always, fairly flabby. He was a career heaviest when he got into the weigh-in, and you could see love handles and sort of how he was. He was a big guy when he was in the ring. But in terms of strength, the strength was definitely with Ngannou. So was the power. Again, when it comes to normal fights, Fury normally can bully his opponents. He's done it on several occasions where he's been able to lean on, weigh them down, bully them, Wilder included, who weighed quite a few sort of stones lighter than him. And with that, he's been able to get away with that. With Ngannou, he could not do that because Ngannou was stronger in the clinch. He was also more powerful when he was doing his punches. And I think that really was a factor that Tyson Fury didn't think that it was going to be. Also, when it came to the game plan, I think the game plan that Ngannou had, which was to sort of wait and then strike back, I think was a great game plan. And it really, I think that Tyson Fury struggled more with Ngannou than Ngannou struggled with Fury, and no one expected that. When Fury switched stances, Ngannou switched stances, which again, really unusual for a tactic that Fury was using to be, cancelled out by the fact that Ngannou was switching as well. And then, of course, when he got knocked down, which he did well to get up from. I mean, later on he's sort of saying that it didn't hurt and stuff, but it did shock him. He was on the floor, and he had to sort of get up and recover. Cost him a 10-8 round. And then obviously later on in the fight, Fury resorted to an elbow, an illegal move to try and sort of redress the balance in a fight that he should have easily been winning. And for me, that is disgusting. I mean, I've been boxing all these years and I've never threw an elbow at anyone. And if anyone come in here and started throwing an elbow, then I'd simply throw them out and they would never spar in this gym again. I think it's despicable, and I don't want to sort of endorse anything like that. That is not boxing at all. Disappointing in Fury. Okay, so on to the result. And the result was a split decision win for Fury. And you've got a lot of people out there that are saying that it was wrong and that Ngannou was robbed. You've got a lot of people out there sort of going to Fury's defence and saying that he did win. If you look at the rounds, he did win. Let's just have a look at the judges' scorecards. You had Judge 1, 96-93 Fury. you had Judge 2, 94-95 Ngannou. And then you had Judge 3, 95-94 Fury, and that giving that split decision. Now, if you look at the scorecards and you do an average of the rounds where 2 judges went 10-9 for the same boxer, and you average it out, and I've done that for the whole of the 10 rounds because it was a 10-round contest, not a 12-round contest. And I've done that, and that comes out, if you average it out, that comes out at 96-93 for Fury, the same as Judge 1. I've also got the CompuBox figures, and then on here you can have a look and you can see what the rounds would have been scored based on the total punches that were thrown and landed. And when you do that and you score it through on CompuBox, it comes out at Fury 95, Ngannou 94. Now, I must admit, I didn't think that that was the case. I thought when it was going to the judge's decision, I thought to myself, that's Ngannou's, he's won that, and I thought in my head, they're never going to give him it. I really did think that. I've seen it so many times in boxing. I thought they're going to put a draw in here, or they're going to give it to Fury, even though I felt that Ngannou had done enough. So from my point of view, regardless of looking at the judges, regardless of looking at CompuBox, actually watching it on the television, when it come, I thought Ngannou deserved the win. Okay, so what now for Tyson Fury? Well, they had the sort of decision, and then before you know it, there was a slight sort of, acknowledgement of what Ngannou had done, but really they moved very quickly on to Usyk. Usyk was actually in the crowd, and they got him into the ring. And so what happened was, it was all the talk of Usyk versus Fury on December the 23rd, which has already been gone out now and said that that's not going to happen. But, Ngannou, as far as after the decision was concerned, from Fury's point of view, it was like he wasn't going to give him a rematch. There was no talk about that at all. Straight on to Usyk, which is exactly what the plan was. And what happened was Ngannou nearly, and should have, upset the plan, because if they'd have done the judging correctly, in my opinion, Ngannou would have won, and that really would have set the cat amongst the pigeons, and that to me would have been the fair result. Now, what about Ngannou? Ngannou from here is in a great position. I certainly think that he shouldn't go back to MMA. I think he needs to stop and stay in boxing. I think there's some great fights out there, some very interesting fights out there. I mean, Wilder versus Ngannou, what a fight. Anthony Joshua versus Ngannou, what a fight. A rematch with Fury, what a fight. And even I'd like to see him in there with Usyk, although I think Usyk will be far too skilled in terms of boxing ability for him. But in terms of Ngannou, I think the world really is his oyster. He's got a great sort of platform here with what he did to sort of move forward and make a lot of money in the sport of boxing. Now, there is a lot of boxing people out there that are struggling to admit that Ngannou beat Fury, that a MMA guy with no boxing actual fights under his belt could beat the lineal boxing heavyweight champion. And yeah, it's not palatable for people like me who, I am a massive boxing fan. I would never choose MMA over boxing, but you have to admit what happened, and that was Ngannou beat Fury. I absolutely believe it. I wouldn't be doing a video on here if I didn't feel that. Yeah, it was a close fight, but as I said, Fury was struggling with Ngannou. It didn't feel like Ngannou was struggling with Fury. I understand that there'll be people out there from the MMA community that might be gloating, thinking, this shows how superior MMA is to boxing. I don't think that. I think what you've got is a top-level athlete in Ngannou who, no matter what combat sport he went to, he would do well. You've also got Tyson Fury, who I think underestimated Ngannou and just thought it was just going to be a procession, just thought he was just going to do what he wanted in there, using his boxing skill. I don't think he trained hard enough, and I think the opposite of that is Ngannou was training like a beast. Also, Ngannou's game plan, I think, was tremendous, and I don't think anybody else really was foreseeing that game plan. So I don't think that we're ever going to see a rematch with Fury and Ngannou. I think that the stage was set. It was all set up just for it to be Usyk the next one, and the judges made sure that that sort of plan is able to go ahead. There's a lot of money involved, and if Ngannou had been given the decision, then all of that money and all of those plans would have been off the table. And once again, I think boxing let itself down by giving the wrong decision for that. I mean, it's almost like Rocky versus Apollo Creed. It was almost like that. Apollo Creed thought that he was going to win. You got Rocky that totally upset the odds, and then you'll be in a position now where you'll have a lot of people sort of saying, well, Fury isn't what he said he was and isn't what he's proved in the past. And it may be that he's on the slide. I hope not. I just hope that he has misjudged Ngannou and how good and how powerful and how skillful he was going to be. So I am a fair and honest guy, and boxing for me is more important than any individuals. And I think for the integrity, for the honesty of the sport of boxing, the judges really should have given the decision to Ngannou, and then we will have seen a rematch over 12 rounds with a Fury that really does take it serious, as opposed to what he did, which he thought it was an exhibition. And then you could really say that boxing had sort of cleaned out its house and got its house in order. But once again, like many, many times, the person that won the fight is the person that boxing wanted to win the fight, not necessarily the actual person that did win the fight. And that is a real shame in my eyes. And again, you know, I think what happens in boxing is it's consistently shooting itself in the foot with these decisions where people are sort of questioning whether or not the judges are corrupt and questioning whether the sport of boxing is fixed. And I think we should really start to be put in a position where, like the UFC, where whoever wins, wins. I did listen to a thing the other day, and it was saying about Lennox Lewis saying you've got to rip the championship from the champion, and I do agree to that to a certain extent, but he knocked Fury down, he shocked Fury, and I think that he did enough just to be crowned the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. I think he's got a great future going forward. I think it's been brilliant for him, the way he conducted himself during the press conference, the build-up, the weigh-in, and during the fight, because he wasn't fouling, and after the fight, he was magnanimous in defeat, when I thought that actually he should have made a little bit more of a fuss. Sort of the day after or 2 days later, yeah, he is coming out and saying that he won the fight, and I totally agree. And people have had more chance now to have a look and to see the fight back again. I still haven't changed my opinion. I still think that Ngannou did enough to shock the world. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe to Fit to Box channel, and I shall speak to you soon.